Welcome to another video about metal roofing systems. In today's video, we're going to be talking about fasteners, and we're joined by Technical Services Manager, Jeff Haddock. So Jeff, what type of fasteners do you typically use with our products?
Well, that depends on the application, right? Is it an exposed fastener system? Is it a concealed fastener system? Are you attaching to steel? Are we attaching to wood? Now, the 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 amount and type of fasteners that are available to the market is endless and ever changing.
So a really good resource, I guess, would be to check the installation guide and other guidance in terms of, which fastener is correct for which substrate and which
That's
panel system.
absolutely correct. We call out all applicable fasteners that should be utilized within our installation guides or some of our evaluation engineering reports that may be needed, because you've got different things to think about with regards to fastener is head type. Is it concealed? Is it going to be exposed? Is it a corrosive environment? Um, what's the thread thickness we need? What's the thread count that we need? What's the drill point style that we need based off of the substrate we're going into? Does it require a sealing washer? If it's on a coastal application, does it require a ZAC cap, which is an anti-corrosive cap that prevents that fastener head from corroding? If it's a concealed fastener system, do I need to utilize, can I utilize a hex head with a washer, or should I be utilizing what we call as a concealer head or a pancake head style fastener? The fastener list can, like I said, it's very massive and there's a lot of different options out there. One big key thing is to make sure follow manufacturer's installation instructions. And furthermore, if a project has engineering or there has been engineering done on it, make sure you're adhering to what that specific fastener call out needs to be.
Got it. Now, I know, Jeff, you spend a lot of time up on roofs looking at installations as part of weather tightness warranties and other projects. What are you looking for as a sign of a correctly installed fastener?
Well, one big thing we want to make sure, so if it's an exposed application, we want to make sure that the fasteners aren't overdriven. And what I mean by that is that we try to train and teach our installers to use a drill gun specific for the application, meaning it has a clutch on it where it gets down to a certain pressure and then the gun actually disengages, preventing that overdriven of the fastener. Because what can happen is if you're using an impact wrench or something along that line that doesn't have a clutch on it, you can actually overdrive that fastener, thus blowing out the sealing washer that's on it and actually cut a groove into the material, scratching in and wearing out the paint and causing potential issues down the road. Other issues, other items that I'm looking for on fastener types, and this is primarily for concealed attachment, as I want to make sure that they're using the proper thread diameter and thread count. And generally speaking, what we're looking for on that. So let's say if we're utilizing a number 14, that's going to be the thickness of the actual fastener. Then after that, they'll have a dash and then a certain number. So number 14-13, that 13 is the thread count per inch of a fastener. So we want to make sure and usually I'm not sitting there counting each thread on each fastener. What I'll usually ask is for the installer, can I see the box, please? And I'll verify what the label is stating that these fasteners are. Another big aspect is length. A lot of times what we'll have is we'll have a buildup of a substrate where we'll have the base layer with insulation on top of that, and then maybe another layer of exterior rated gyp sheathing, which we call Dens deck. We got to make sure that we've got a fastener that's long enough to penetrate through all that layer to hit that solid deck. So we want to make sure that the length is proper. Then the last part of that is going to be the proper head type. So with a concealed fastener standing seam profile, we want to make sure that we're not using something with a bulky head, because a lot of times the panel is resting right on top of the clip. Well, if you got a bulky head on that fastener and you snap that panel down, that head is going to dimple the panel and telegraph through. And now you got fastener dimples all up and down the panel where those fasteners are located. That's not a good look for any standing seam roof. Now you've
Right.
got, bump marks everywhere where those screws were because you use the improper head type for the application. Another aspect is we want to make sure that you're using the proper material for the fastener, meaning what is the composition or buildup of that fastener? Is it zinc coated? Is it stainless steel? Certain metals don't play along together in certain environments. whereas steel and stainless steel in a salt environment don't like each other. And what we have is a process known as a dissimilar metals issue known as electrolysis, where you introduce a cathode into the system where you've got the fastener penetrating and piercing that steel, leaving a raw edge, and you have an incompatible metal touching that, adding salt moisture into that is a recipe for disaster. So you want to make sure you're using the appropriately spec'd fastener material along with thread diameter, thread count, drill point, or tip of the fastener, as well as head. So there's a lot of aspects to take into consideration with fasteners, not just, "Oh, I'm going to use a roofing nail and we'll just slap this thing down." So really, really, you want to default to what the installation guide instructions are stating. And we are purposely vague in some of our install guides. So if that's the case and you're unsure of what specific fastener to use, always feel free to reach out to your area sales rep, or you can contact our technical services department directly and we can get you pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. And some resources there is the Ask section on the website. And we've also got the technical bulletins about dissimilar metals and things in the resource section of the website, as well as all our installation guides. So definitely check out the website for details. So I know for some of our panels, there's an element of maintenance on certain fasteners. What type of products is there routine maintenance on fasteners, and what's involved with that?
So the routine maintenance on fasteners would be dealing with our exposed fastener panels, or any type of exposed fastener for that matter. And that mainly is dealing with the washer head self-sealing style fasteners. A lot of people think that metal roofs are a set it and forget it style roof system. That couldn't be further from the truth. You still want to perform annual, biannual spot checks on your roof. You want to make sure debris is taken away, and your roof drainage is properly flowing and not building up or backing up. But specifically with fasteners, because with the self-sealing washer head, it's generally made, it's a steel cap that's got a neoprene rubber sealer underneath that. Well, after years and years and years of service, that neoprene washer head can deteriorate or get worn out, thus eliminating the sealing benefits of utilizing a fastener like that. So you want to make sure, and you're checking out to make sure that everything's sealing properly. Another issue that we deal with fasteners is thermal movement, especially in exposed fastener style panels. Because of the constant thermal movement back and forth, expansion, contraction of that roof system, fasteners can actually stair step or be walked back out. So you want to make sure that your fasteners are all properly seated into the panel, because that fastener walks out, you've lost A, your attachment point, and B, your self-sealing properties of that washer head. So you want to make sure things of that, and just that fasteners aren't worn or corroded and things based off of the environment.
Yeah, yeah. And that also explains why for a lot of high performance situations, we always recommend a concealed fasten system, because you don't have that neoprene washer exposed to UV, or you also have clips and other, system designs that allow for thermal movement.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's concealed, buried under the roof, and protected by the roof panel itself, whereas you don't get a lot of that weather exposure, actually any of that weather exposure whatsoever on any of those fasteners and things, and that prevents a lot of that maintenance issue. Whereas that's the big difference between using an architectural style standing seam roof system versus a commercial style exposed fastener style system.